Hi, I'm Brittany Rizzo, and welcome back to My Only Friends. On today's episode, I met Steve Garraty. Steve Garraty is the author of Greatfruit, How Cancer Led to Living a More Fruitful Life, a speaker and a longtime business leader. Diagnosed with Hodgkin's as a teenager, his life was interrupted early by illness, uncertainty, and adversity that reshaped how he viewed growth, resilience, and what truly matters. That experience became the foundation for his mission to help others reframe perspective after life's toughest moments. This episode reminds me of the Friends episode, the one where Old Yeller dies. After learning the true ending of Old Yeller, Richard then also recommends a handful of movies to Phoebe that have quite different endings than her mother told her. One of the movies being It's a Wonderful Life. Steve writes about in his book how that movie specifically helped him change his perspective around cancer. You can purchase Steve's book, Greatfruit, today. Please enjoy my conversation with Steve Garraty. Hello, we did it.
I know. How are you?
I'm good. Where are you?
I'm in Tampa, Florida.
Tampa, Florida. Is it warm there?
It's cold. It,
Oh,
yeah, it's like got down in the 30s the last couple days.
nope. No,
Yeah.
thank you. I am in Los Angeles and I have like socks and Uggs on and fuzzy pants and a sweater. Like I am so cold and it's 70 degrees.
Is it really? Wow.
I told my friends and my family next year for Christmas, I am going to Mexico. I can't do the cold I can't do it.
70's too cold, huh?
Well, the thing is there's no insulation in my apartment. So it's like when it's cold, it's like an iceberg in my house. And then when it's hot out, it's like I don't have central heat or air like most places in Los Angeles don't have that. So it takes a really long time to warm up and it takes a really long time to cool down in the summer.
Uh,
So it's the winters are rough for me. I'm just like my neck and shoulders are just constantly up to my ears because I'm like
yeah. I've always said my favorite weather in the country is San Diego. I don't know if you've
mm.
been there much, but I love the weather there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Every
It's
time
just,
it's just like in the spirit of the show. Every time I hear San Diego, did you ever watch New Girl?
I did not know.
Nick always says it's the Paris of Southern California, and I'm like, yep. It's just everybody wants to go there. It's just so nice.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It gets hot here. So the summers I've gotten used to it, but
Hmm.
it's just very muggy and
Yeah, I can't do the mugginess. I went to
yeah.
Florida once, and I was like, no. Like you get out of the shower and you have to take another shower.
Yeah, yeah, it is like that. But the winters are beautiful, and I've gotten used to the summers, and I like it. I've been here 28 years now. So,
Okay, so where
yeah,
were you? Where were you born and
I was
raised?
born in Chicago, and then for the most part grew up in Atlanta, and then moved down here for a job right after I got married and had our first child. And so it was supposed to be a short stint, but we ended up kind of building our social network here and just fell in love with the city. And
Yeah.
it's got a small town feel to it and easy to get around, not a lot of traffic. And so yeah, we ended up staying.
Nice.
Yeah.
You're here today to talk about your book, Grapefruit.
Yes. Yes. I think we were introduced by Pat
Yeah, how
Rowe.
do you and Pat know each other?
So I work for Salesforce, a
Hmm.
software company, and he works with a partner that basically implements the software, and so we have a business connection that way. I think he had seen some of the posts on my book, and there was some similar themes that resonated with him. And he lives in Tampa, I live in Tampa, so we got together for coffee sometime last year and just started talking about, our books and how we marketed them, and he mentioned your name, and I was like, he gave me two people he was going to introduce me to, and one of them was you.
That's amazing. I love that you guys were like, oh, yeah, I'm writing a book. Like, why not?
Yeah. Yeah, I love networking with authors. It's something I've done a lot of the last couple of years.
Hmm.
And being that he was local, yeah, it was perfect. I published 2025. He published, I think, about 3 years before that. So
Hmm.
he's way ahead of me in the time and what he did. He kind of went on a tour, with podcasts and
Right.
publicity and things like that. So I was primarily started doing that last March.
When was the moment where you felt like, okay, like I can write this book without it really, or did it like take you back to like some of those really heavy moments where you were just like, I really need a moment. Like this is too much.
Yeah, so it's funny. It started, Brittany, as a journal when I was going through chemotherapy. And this all happened when I was 18 years old. I'm 58 now. So it's been a long time. But my parents, it was a very lonely year. Like basically, the backdrop was I was partying a lot in high school and getting in a lot of trouble and headed down a bad path. So as soon as I got sick, all those, so-called friends,
Hmm.
most of them disappeared and went off to college. And, at 18, I probably would have done the same thing in their shoes. But it was a very lonely year and going through chemo and all that. It was a painful year. And it was primarily my mom really had me write in a journal. And so I kind of documented everything during the course of that year. And then I got declared cancer free, went off to college, didn't want to think about cancer, even though I did. I tried to forget about it. And then I would say once I got out of college, I just started writing and picking it back up and kind of cleaning it up. And then eventually I had kids and wanted to leave my story to them. And once I started doing that, I started kind of articulating the values or the benefits that I saw that came out of my experience with cancer that I wanted to instill upon them. And then
Hmm.
eventually I got to the point where I was like, I think this story could resonate with people with cancer and then people just going through any of life's, worst moments, divorce,
Yeah.
job loss, grief, whatever it is. We all go through stuff. It's just, shows up in different ways.
Yeah. When I was reading this book, I mean this in the nicest way possible. It almost sounded the way your writing style was and the voice that I was hearing, it was very like Wonder Years Sandlot adjacent, where it was like really taking me back to that time and like the way you were speaking about other people and the way that you were going to these parties and you painted the pictures.
Yeah, it was so that took place like the first few chapters, Brittany, took place in the mid 80s or upper 80s. I graduated high school in 86.
Mm-hmm.
So in the mid 80s, there was no phones. I mean, our social life was getting in a car and going to somebody's house whose parents were out of town or meeting in a cul-de-sac for a party. And
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, it was definitely different times. But all that was, like the first half of the book, most of that was written as a journal as I was going through it. And then the second half was kind of the last 4 decades on how it impacted, family, friendships, faith.
Yeah. That's pretty amazing though that you kept those journals and like had this kind of wherewithal back then to be like, okay, and be able to use it now. Like I think that is really, really that's cool and I'm sure it's helpful for you in like a healing way too.
It is, yeah. My mom's borderline a hoarder, and
Mm.
so she just keeps stuff, and I probably picked that up from her. So I didn't really throw away anything from those, from that year that I was going through chemo.
Hmm.
It all got put in a file and then a box, and but yeah, I never ended up throwing any of it away.
Yeah, yeah. Was there like one certain journal entry you were like where you could feel it? Like you read it back and you're like, I feel exactly how I felt in this moment. Like it took you right back.
I would say all of it.
Yeah.
I would really say all of it. Like I was 18, I was just writing down anything I was experiencing, feeling, thinking. Um, but yeah, some of the points where I was going into doctor's offices and going into the doctor's office to receive the chemotherapy and
Mm-hmm.
then vomiting during it. I
Mm.
mean, all of that, and how sick I got. And then basically it was about a 8 to 12 hour window where I would go home the rest of the day and just hug the toilet like I couldn't leave the
Mm-hmm.
bathroom. And so I'd sleep on the floor and hugging the toilet and just waiting to get sick again. All of that, yeah, that takes me back immediately back to those days.
Yeah. And so what I do want to talk about is, your mom is a very important person throughout this whole journey. And I loved the beginning where you you say she honored your space for your need for solitude. And I think that is such an important lesson because sometimes the best thing we can do is just let people feel what they're feeling without trying to convince them otherwise. And but then you do talk about how you were very defiant to your parents and you were out drinking and partying and doing all of these things. Why do you think you were so defiant to your parents? Was it because you just wanted to go out and drink and it didn't matter what they said? Or was it like just being a young kid and like, because it seemed like your home life was really good. You have these incredible, amazing parents. So what was the driving force for you to be so defiant towards them?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think part of it was we moved, and this was no excuse. Like I definitely take accountability that I was a jerk in high school, right? I treated my parents very poorly. I treated any authority really very defiantly.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the reason for it was we had moved twice, and I think the second time my family did. The second time we moved from Connecticut. So I was born in Chicago, as I mentioned up front. We lived in Connecticut for a while, and then we moved to Georgia in 1979. And I mean, Atlanta was very, uh, we moved to a rural area. Today, it's literally part of Atlanta and the way that Atlanta has grown. But back then, it was a very rural area. And then I went to high school about 30 minutes away in an even more rural high school. And I think just moving from kind of being a Yankee, if you will, up in the Northeast, moving down to a very, if you will, redneck kind of area, I think
Mm-hmm.
I struggled socially when we first moved down there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I just kind of ended up latching on to the wrong group of kids.
Right.
And we enjoyed getting in trouble. It was like, we enjoyed skipping school. We enjoyed doing everything that we weren't supposed to be doing. And that just continued to cause friction with my
Mm-hmm.
parents as I would get caught and do really dumb things. I wrecked my parents' car 5 times, under the influence of alcohol my junior and senior year. And so, yeah, I mean, there were threats of sending me off to military school.
Mm-hmm.
My dad's auto insurance company eventually made him put in writing that I wouldn't drive the car anymore.
Wow.
Yeah, it just kind of spiraled down. And yeah, my parents are still married. They've been married for 60 something years.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, we grew up in a pretty normal, it's not like I can blame anything, and really moving shouldn't have caused me to act like that. But I think it was a struggle fitting in socially my first couple years when I moved to Atlanta,
Mm-hmm.
and just acted out and latched on to a group of kids that wasn't the best group to hang out with.
Mm-hmm. So talk about how that all came to a halt. Like what got you to stop drinking and how you were then leaning on your parents the most.
Yeah, well, it was 3 words nobody wants to hear. It was, you have cancer. So I had a mass in the side of my neck, and went and got it biopsied, and they took it out. It was the size of a grapefruit, which kind of led to the title of my book. But yeah, it was the size of a grapefruit. And then we did more tests and found out it had spread to the chest and stomach, making it stage 3. But yeah, basically then I write about this in the book. I think my parents had kind of warned the surgeon and then warned the oncologist, really any of the doctors, the nurses. There were several comments made to me about you can't drink, you can't do drugs. And I thought they probably don't tell everybody this when when they're diagnosed with cancer. So it was
Mm-hmm.
pretty clear my parents had shared their concerns. But when I was diagnosed, when the surgeon called our house to say you have cancer, he had said no drinking and no drugs for a year, potentially forever. And he said, it's not good on the immune system. You need to focus on getting healthy. And that's when I had to stop partying. Now it took me a few weeks to kind of accept that, and
Mm-hmm.
I went to a couple parties, and I didn't drink, but I came close, and I write about that as well. But that's kind of what stopped me in my tracks from partying. I like to say cancer forced me onto a different path in life, and I didn't think it for a year, but eventually I looked at cancer as a blessing that saved my life.
Right, right. And you had written in the book that like quitting drinking almost felt like more of a death sentence. And
Yeah.
I just think it's a great way to highlight that addiction is so serious. I mean, it's this you have to have so much I mean, I do. I have such compassion for people who are fighting any sort of addiction because it really is, it's like you see the person smoking a cigarette who's attached to an oxygen tank. Like it is so deeply rooted, and you feel you hope that it's an eye-opening moment for somebody like that and that it will change their life. And some people never learn, and it's just really sad. And I just have compassion for people. And when you were talking about, like, but when can I have another drink? Like, what do you mean I can't drink again? Because that was your way of regulating your nervous system that you just didn't get anymore. That was your comfort blanket that was taken away from you, even though it was an itchy, scratchy one and wasn't good for you. So it definitely, it just highlighted how strong addiction can be. Like, you have literally this death sentence in front of you and so much fear, and all you're thinking about is your next drink. And it I just have compassion for it. There's no,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
No,
hard.
that's understandable. And I don't know if it was, I don't know if it was addiction to the alcohol itself,
Or
but
escaping.
I knew my social life was about to stop. It was about to
Right.
come to a screeching halt. And I think that's what really freaked me out because in high school, at least back then in the 80s, you went to drink, you went to party, and
Mm-hmm.
you didn't see people that weren't drinking at parties. And I also had just graduated high school, so I was supposed to go off to college. I had seen the movie Animal House a number of times,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like I can't wait to get out of my parents' house, go live, go experience the Greek life and college life. And so yeah, it was kind of giving all that up. It wasn't just the alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
Alcohol was kind of the vehicle, but the parties and the social scene and being a part of that all the time, I knew that was about to end. And
Yeah.
it freaked me out.
Yeah. I am actually 10 years sober. I have not had.
Oh, congrats.
Thank you. And it's crazy because, like, I would say when I was younger, yeah, it was a social aspect. But now, like, if I'm out with my friends, people probably think I'm the drunk one and they're all sober. Like, I'm always just like dancing and having fun. Like, I really don't need it at all now as I've like gotten more confident in myself and more comfortable with the people I'm around. But it really is too, like, like you learned having that good group of friends, those real people around where you can be yourself and you don't need to drink to, or like, act a certain way to fit in with them.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. At 18, I think that's pretty hard as you get
Oh,
older.
oh
At least
yeah.
as I've gotten older, it's,
Oh yeah.
you know,
It took me until my 30s to like really feel that way and stop like performing to be a part of a certain group of people. And, those people that I would go out and get drunk with when I first moved to LA, I don't talk to any of them.
hmm
Like none of them. Um, What I did also want to talk about is you have OCD and you got this diagnosis. I also have recently been diagnosed with OCD. And as somebody who understands that, I can only imagine how the rumination and I mean, this was more like pre-internet. So I could not
was.
imagine like if you had something like WebMD and OCD and a cancer diagnosis, like I think that might actually put me into a padded room.
Yeah.
Like so how it genuinely made my heart hurt for you because I know how I am with the smallest bit of information and how much I Google, and now you watch TikToks on it and you go on a Reddit forum, like you can literally just spend your life checking and ruminating on this loop. So when you got diagnosed with cancer, how did you stop the OCD from taking over your mindset?
It was difficult, Brittany. I mean, you bring up a great point about being pre-internet. I mean, if you wanted information back then, you either would talk to a doctor or you would go to the library, right, and try to look stuff up. That's pretty much it.
Did you
And
live at the library?
I didn't know. It's funny
Would
now,
have been
like
me.
you were describing my wife a little bit. My wife gets on WebMD or
Hmm.
Google and she's like, I think I've got this disease or whatever. And I'm like,
Hmm.
go to the doctor. Do not get on the internet and diagnose yourself. So um, I think I know. Maybe that's for me. Maybe that's kind of growth. Is that I recognize now that's a rabbit hole I don't want to go down. So if I think something's wrong with me today with my health, I'll freak out a little bit. but I won't get online because I feel like I'm going to see stuff on there that's going to make it worse.
Right.
But back then, to answer your question, like I would have to wait kind of till the next doctor's appointment. And I write about that a little bit. Like I went in the first time thinking, okay, I'm going to get all the answers. This
Hmm.
stuff. So I got diagnosed. They took it out of my neck. They figured out I had cancer. They had no idea how much it had spread. They didn't know what stage it was in. And they basically explained, you'll need to go in, you'll get some x-rays, CAT scans. They'll figure out how far it spread. That'll determine whether you get radiation or chemo. I did a little bit of research. I think my parents had talked to some people that had been through both, and I knew that chemo was worse than radiation. And so I spent like a couple weeks before we got in to see the oncologist, not knowing what stage it was, not knowing how much of it was in my body, not knowing what the treatment was going to be. And so, yeah, that like I obsessed. And, but I don't know if the internet would have been any better because I probably would have seen a lot out there
Right.
and would have just still worried. Like I still wouldn't have known. So I had to wait a couple weeks and that was tough. And then when we went in and saw the oncologist, he was like, okay, now we've got to schedule you for, he told me only so much. And then it was like, we got to schedule x-rays and CAT scans and all that. Then I had to do that, then go back in and get the results. And so, yeah, it's like I wanted all the information at once
Hmm.
and it kind of dripped in for a while. And even cancer itself, like you don't know when the end is. I
Right.
mean, you're going through chemo, or I was going through chemo, and every 2 weeks I got treated. And then I would go in and get periodically, I'd say every couple months, I'd get the x-rays and CAT scans, and they would say, okay, it's working, it's shrinking the tumors, but you didn't know when it was going to stop. And so the chemo just got progressively worse over a 9, 10 month period. And then just one day magically I went in and they said, we got it all. The last test came out clear and you're done. But I never knew when that end was going to be. And so from an OCD perspective, yeah, constantly worrying about like how much longer is this going to last? Is it working? Is it shrinking the tumors? Like all of that. It
Yeah,
was hard. It was hard.
I could imagine. And even just being in a hospital with OCD and, the things that you see or, how for me, I'm like, I'm not touching that. It's just there's so much. It just adds such a level of anguish on top of an already really awful situation. And so it's just I had wrote down like we as humans really don't know how strong we are until we have to be. Like there's just no because I'm reading this and I'm going, there's no way I could go through this. Like there's no way. Like this man is so strong. And like you talk about how the dread, that feeling of dread of knowing you're gonna go somewhere to just feel absolutely terrible. But what's the other option?
Yeah.
It's like there is no other option. So
Yeah.
you keep fighting and like despite how much you almost but you wanted to but you also don't want to at the same time because you're like I don't want to feel this way but I want to live so here I am and what was something like I mean I guess that's kind of it is just I would ask what was something that would be like okay I know I'm going to go do this I know I'm going to feel terrible but like what snapped you into that mindset of like okay just got to do it.
I wanted to live. I mean, you hit the
Yeah.
nail on the head. Yeah, I wanted to live. I mean, there were many times where I thought about like just throwing in the towel. And the first chapter of my book kind of starts off that way. Thanks to my editor, he kind of rearranged the story flow and kind of helped it quite a bit. But that was my lowest point was when you mentioned this earlier, when I asked my mom to give me some space. We were in the parking lot at the oncologist. I would say it was probably 7 months into the 9 month, 10 month chemo treatments, and
Mm-hmm.
I had a breakdown it felt like a mental breakdown. Not that I've ever had one, but it was the most freaked out I've ever been, and I just didn't think I could do it anymore. I didn't think I could go inside and kind of go through this whole process again because each one just got worse, and it got worse physically. It also got worse mentally. And so she went inside and I spent about an hour in the parking garage and thoughts of like, I should just stop doing this. Like, I just don't think I can do it anymore. I think if I had known there was an end that I was working towards, it would have helped.
Right.
As I said, you don't really know when the end is or, you know,
Yeah.
if if you're going to beat it. because
Right.
they told me when I was diagnosed, based on my stage 3, there was an 85% chance I would beat it. Of course, that means 15% of those cases people don't make it. And you really don't know, like I said, till you get to the end and they've gotten it all. And then you're in remission for 5 years. So that's a whole different OCD uh, five
Right.
period of hoping it doesn't come back. And then after that, you're technically cured. But yeah, to answer your question, it's I was 18, I wanted to live.
Hmm.
I just kept, I don't know, I don't think I'm brave. I don't think I'm tough. I just think I wanted to live, and each time I had to suck it up and go inside. And but that was the closest I ever came to quitting, was that opening scene where I asked my mom to give me space, and she was probably watching from a window somewhere in the doctor's office. But yeah, she gave me that space, and eventually it was praying, and I felt like, something came over me, and I was like, I got to go do this. I gotta go inside and get another round of chemo.
Yeah. Now, I had written this question down and then it got answered so quickly afterwards, but I want you to talk about it. I put, was there one specific healthcare worker during this time where you were like, this person is an actual angel? And then literally right after that, I read, and Pam was an angel.
Yeah. Yeah, she was unbelievable. And there's part of my story where, believe it or not, my oncologist, I had two oncologists. We switched halfway through, or maybe two-thirds of the way through. But the first oncologist had I won't spoil this chapter too much, but basically had a pay before you get treated
Hmm.
policy. And there was one time it was very expensive, and I was fortunate. I was in middle income. My dad was probably at the height of his career when I got sick, and was doing, well, had good health insurance. But he wouldn't take the health insurance. He would make my parents submit and get reimbursed from the insurance company. So
God,
they had
that's
to,
awful.
yeah, so my parents had to basically write a check every time, and it was
God.
thousands of dollars. And so we went in one time, and my mom asked the office to hold the check till Friday. It was like a Tuesday, and they said no, he's got to come back um, when the check is good. And so my parents were done after that. They again, I'll kind of leave that for those who want to read the book. But we ended up switching oncologists, and that was huge when I switched oncologists. But Pam, that you mentioned, was a nurse at the first office, and she was unbelievable.
Hmm.
She became a friend. We went out on, I thought it was a date. I don't know if it was a date. I didn't try to kiss her or anything, so I don't know. But I thought it was a date. I mean, we went to dinner and a movie, and but she was just awesome. Like every single time I went in, she did her best to take my mind off.
Hmm.
She's putting the needle in my vein and hooking me up to the drug. She was awesome, and she would remember stuff. Like she would ask me about my weekend, or if I'd been on any dates, or
Hmm.
just, and then she would bring stuff up the next time. And she was just fantastic. But I never got her last name, and because we switched oncologists in a very quick, abrupt, wasn't a good breakup between the oncologist and my parents.
Hmm.
Leave it at that. I like, to this day, I've tried to find her, and I don't have a last name. That office doesn't exist anymore.
Wow.
Yeah, I would love to thank her if she's still around. And she wasn't that. I don't know, if I had to guess, when I was 18, she was probably 30, maybe.
Hmm.
So yeah, I'd love to find her.
Well, Pam, if you're listening, but it is really wild because I have a handful of people like that in my life where I went through something really hard and they were there with me through it, whether it was like a healthcare worker or a stranger on the street, and you're just like, you don't know anything about them. You never hear from them again. And you're like, but maybe that was the point, you know? Like maybe that was just, I really needed that person in the moment, and the universe or whatever you believe in sent it to me. And like they have such an impact on you. You never forget them, but like it is crazy. Like she helped you through one of the most difficult times of your life and you don't even know her last name. Like, but I think that's
Yeah,
also the beauty of being human. Is like you don't need to know all this stuff about her in order to like deeply appreciate her as a person.
yeah. I just wish I could thank her. But yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. Yeah, but it's what's amazing is she did that every day for a living, and
Hmm.
I couldn't do that. I couldn't be around. people that were sick and in many cases dying. And
Right.
she was just an angel. I mean,
Yeah.
I would throw up. She'd have to clean up my vomit, just would talk to me, take my mind off of it. Just like you could tell she truly cared,
Right.
me and my well-being.
Yeah,
Yeah,
when you
yeah,
get a good nurse like that and an amazing healthcare worker like that, because sometimes you don't, and when you do get those good ones, it is like this is a superhuman. Like,
yeah,
oh my gosh. And
yeah.
also, well, you talk about in the book how you didn't know if you were going to be able to have children. So congratulations on having children.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I
How
ended
old
up
are your kids now?
there. So I just became a grandparent a few months ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Let me think about this. I have a 28-year-old and a 25-year-old.
Wow.
Yeah. And we just had a grandson about 4 months ago. But yeah, we were told 70% chance the chemo would, or I was told 70% chance the chemo would make me sterile and not be able to have kids.
Wow.
Pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's amazing that you have those journals and you can look back and be like, I proved everybody wrong. I beat everything that I thought I was like not going to. Like, it's a miracle. It's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It's a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Life turned out pretty good. And in so many ways, it made me a better person. And I think changed the course of, there's not a day that goes by. It's been 40 years, Brittany. There's not a day that goes by I don't think about cancer, about my
Mhm.
experience with cancer, and just an appreciation on how I think it impacted how I became a husband, a father, how I lead in business, how I treat friendships. It changed me fundamentally in so many ways.
Yeah, and I love, for the better, because unfortunately there are people who go through this and they don't learn this beautiful lesson or find the deep gratitude. Sometimes it makes people bitter and mad, and I think it's a testament to like, you talk about perspective and how changing your perspective and finding the gratitude. I thought that was really, I mean, it's a strength for sure, and it's a practice. Like I don't think when you're going through something hard, when you're throwing up all over the place and, you're not going, I'm so grateful for this, you know?
I never once thought
Yeah.
that during, yeah.
Right. But you talk about how It's a Wonderful Life gave you perspective. So can you talk about that?
Yeah, it was probably the most surreal experience of watching a movie or a TV show that I've ever had in my life. So I finished up with chemo probably like April or May of what would have been my freshman year in college. And I stayed home that year. I actually took some courses at community college, worked part-time. I worked a little bit for a company my dad was working for, and then went through chemo and just tried to get healthy. But I was declared cancer free like April-ish, maybe time frame, and then went off to Georgia, the University of Georgia that fall in September. And so that was surreal because I went from like I call it a year of hell of going through this with chemo and it was lonely, no friends. I had a couple friends who stuck by me, no social life, lost all my hair, lots of side effects, and then my hair grows back over the summer. I go off to college and it's football games and tailgating and socials and just, so many friends so quickly. And so there were many days I just pinched myself, like, how did I get here? And then that Christmas of my first year off at college, my first Christmas cancer free, I was going home for the Christmas break, and a new friend, a fraternity brother of mine, had said, "Hey, have you ever seen the movie It's a Wonderful Life?" And I said, "No." And he's like, "Oh, you got to go watch that." And he kind of told me about it. I was like, "All right." And so I went home, and I'm dating myself, but this is, pre-internet. It's also the days of Blockbuster being how you would go and get a movie.
I
And so I
loved
went,
Blockbuster.
what's that?
I loved Blockbuster.
Yeah, wasn't it the best? Like I miss those days of going and like you got to look at each of I don't
Yeah,
know, that experience I felt like I could pick movies out quicker driving to Blockbuster than I do today.
absolutely. Are we back?
Yeah, I never
Okay.
lose I never lose internet, but it looks like our internet is out.
Oh no.
Yeah, I'm on my hotspot right now, so hopefully this is okay.
Okay.
Yes, Yesterday, Tampa had tropical storm gust winds. Not a
Mhm.
tropical storm, but anyways, the power was going out all over Tampa yesterday. So I don't know if we have something from that, but anyways, I'm sorry about that.
No, it's totally fine. So you were saying it would take you found a movie quicker at Blockbuster, driving to and from Blockbuster than you do on streaming anymore, and I couldn't agree more. It is so hard to find something to watch.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. I guess being able to pick it up and physically look at it, and it just was much easier. But that Christmas, I went home, went to Blockbuster, rented It's a Wonderful Life, and it resonated. The whole movie resonated. Have you seen it, Brittany?
I haven't.
Really? Oh, you got to
Yes.
watch it.
Shockingly, I know I will. It of course reminded me of a Friends episode because there's a um do you watch Friends?
Yeah, I've seen all of them multiple times.
Okay.
Yep.
When Richard is telling Phoebe all the movies that she should watch. When it's like, because her mom would turn off the movie so that they
Oh
didn't
yeah.
see the ending. So when she was like, It's a Wonderful Life, it should be called It's a Sucky Life. That's like my extent of knowing about It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah, I would definitely highly recommend it. But it's an old black and white, and so as a teenager, when I was flipping channels, it never appealed to me.
Right.
Yeah, the premise is this guy's got, he's married, he's got four kids, he lives in this small town, and he just doesn't appreciate anything in his life. And he's a great guy, and he does a lot of good things, but he's always wanting what he doesn't have, and he wants to travel the world, and he wants to get out of this, what he calls this crummy little town. And some things happen that have him thinking about taking his own life. And this angel intervenes and then shows him what life would be like had he not existed. And so everything, like his kids don't exist, his wife never got married, like the whole town is different. And so it just resonated with me. It was like my angel was cancer. Like cancer put me on a different path, and it got me to see just see life differently. And so the whole movie just resonated with me. And it's my favorite movie. I watch it, multiple times every Christmas. But what it did is it started causing me to look back, because again, this was 8 months removed from chemo. It caused me to start looking back on my experience and like what are the benefits that came out of it. Um, and so that started a journey of kind of self-awareness around how did cancer make my life better, or how could my cancer make my life better? And that's when I started embracing the fact that it was a good thing that happened to me. It didn't feel like it at the time,
Right.
but it was God's way of intervening. And that movie kind of put me on that path.
And would you say like your relationship with your parents definitely got so much stronger?
My relationship with them got better the minute I heard I was cancer. I mean that I had cancer.
Hmm.
They just were, like you alluded to this earlier, they were great parents. I mean, before, even when I was a little shit, they were great parents. But they hugged me and took care of me, and they did everything you would hope, a parent would do when you get sick. And so, yeah, they were great from that point forward. I don't think I probably truly appreciated or even definitely didn't recognize them and verbally, give them kudos for everything they did until
Hmm.
that movie started reshaping the way I looked at my experience.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I love that TV and film can do that for us, though,
Yeah.
where, they help us recognize things we wouldn't have seen otherwise.
Yeah.
And
Brittany, have you ever seen by chance Family Man with Nicolas Cage?
no.
No, okay. It's another holiday movie. It's
Okay.
basically a knockoff of It's a Wonderful Life. So it's more of a modern version of It's a Wonderful Life.
It's kind of like a Christmas Carol, right? Where it's like the ghost of Christmas past, present, and future. Like you see what would happen. I mean, there's a Boy Meets World episode that's like I know, like such a little kid, but there's a Boy Meets World episode where Corey looks at his life if he, the decisions he made. I mean, look, if only we can have kind of, that OCD cure of like we could see how it would all play out, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
to learn the lesson sooner. But
Yeah.
it's one of those things we tale as old as time. You have to go through one of the worst, hardest things of your life to learn one of the most simple lessons, which is, gratitude.
Yeah.
And and focusing on the love. Like that's truly what I, you know, try to take away all the time is like stop focusing on the lack and everything that's hard. Focus on the love and that will expand. Like what you focus on expands.
Without question. Yeah,
Yeah.
without question.
So you find out you're cancer free. What were some of the things you were like, when I beat this thing, this is what I'm gonna do?
That changed. So, like during chemo, when I was going through it, probably early on, I wanted to get better so that I could party again and
Mm.
go off to college. And like I said, I'd seen Animal House. Hopefully you've seen that movie. That was my vision of what college was. And so I
Hmm.
wanted to go off and experience that. Over the course of that year, battling cancer and going through chemo and focusing on my health and getting healthy, like that all started to change. And so eventually I wanted to go off and experience college more responsibly.
Hmm.
And like I still was looking forward to the friendships and dating again and all of that and football games and I love college football. So I wanted to go have that experience, but I wanted to do it more responsibly. So like one of the first things I did is I had an issue with liquor in high school. Like I would drink it till I blacked out, and I did that most weekends. So that was one of the early things. I was like, I'm not, and I really, for the most part, I've had liquor a few times, but might have it in a drink, but I stay away from it now. So
Hmm.
I'll drink beer, but I won't drink liquor. But yeah, I knew that I wanted to go off and just experience college like a normal kid. And so that was kind of my goal when I was and then once I was told I was cancer free, that might have been, and you mentioned I had two kids giving, birth or there for my wife to give birth to them. And then, my wedding, those were great days. But being told you no longer have cancer, I don't think there's anything that compares to that in my life. That feeling of just, like I broke down crying when I was told
Hmm.
that, and my parents did too. But just that euphoria of, I'm through it and I'm finished. Uh,
Hmm.
but I wouldn't say I had any longer term goals, Brittany, than I want to go off to college because I felt like a year behind everybody
Right.
that I had known had gone, not everybody, but a lot of people had gone off and were in college and kind of experiencing that. And I wanted to go experience it just more
Right.
responsibly than I would have.
Right. Right. Being so young going through something like that. And like now you have this amazing full life. I mean, it's truly remarkable. It's incredible. And I love that you shared this story with all of us. And what do you hope is the biggest takeaway from this book for people who are reading or listening to it?
Simply that they will view life's lowest points differently and that they'll look for ways to grow from it. And again, like I said up front, whether that's, divorce or grief or job loss or just, anything that punches us in the face in life, and we all experience that, that people will look at it a little bit differently and try to look at the glass half full, like, and maybe not in the moment, but as they're coming out of it, how can I change my life for the better based on whatever it is I went through? Like, what's the silver lining?
Hmm. What is the book? I forget the name of the book that you read that you said helped start changing your mindset.
The book I read, you said?
Yeah, it was in your book. You talked about a book that it was like it talked
Yeah.
about changing your mindset and how you would speak to the brain, basically.
Yeah, it's called Getting Well Again. And
Yes.
it was written by three people. Like one was husband and wife, one was an oncologist, one was like a therapist, psychologist, and then the other one was in the medical field. But they had done all these studies and really looked at like people that think more positively, glass half full versus people that don't.
Hmm.
And they had looked at like people that set goals, like people maybe with a stage 4 terminal cancer prognosis, but yet they had to make it longer than the doctor said to see their child get married or their kid graduate from school or just like some life event, and how those people would think like I've got to make it to here. And so that in itself suggests you believe you've got some power over your ability to,
Mm.
survive longer and to maybe beat the cancer or beat whatever it is. And so they have a lot of studies in that book, but a lot of it ended up being for me, they give a lot of tips on how to like exercises you can do And so one was visualization. And
Mm.
so I ran track in high school. So I still did a lot of running when I was going through chemo. I usually couldn't do it. I never could do it the day I got chemo, usually not the day after, but then the next 12 days till my next treatment, I would go running and I would use these visual techniques that they talk about in the book to visualize my running and exercise, like attacking the cancer cells and shrinking the
Mm.
cancer. My grandmother had given me some blessed holy water, and I used to pray and use that and picture it like hydrogen peroxide attacking the cancer cells. And so there were some things like that in the book, but a lot of the book is on how thinking positively and thinking the glass half full
Mm-hmm.
affects not only getting sick, but then getting better when you are sick. And I ended up, my mom had two sisters who both passed cancer,
Oh, I'm
and
sorry.
one was always kind of glass half empty, and one was always kind of glass half full. The one who was glass half full lived like twice as long as the doctors gave her.
Wow.
The other one lasted less than a year, and I think she was told she had, like 1 to 2 years to live. And so I kind of saw it play out with my
Right.
mom's two sisters. And
Yeah.
but yeah, it's called Getting Well Again, and they've done some revisions to it.
Mm-hmm.
I think a couple of the authors have passed away, but that book helped me a lot.
Yeah, I mean, the power of visualization for, and, really, like you said, envisioning these cancer cells leaving your body, or it's, and you could still use that technique in your life today of, manifesting what you really want to happen. And like you said, or we were talking about, like what you focus on expands. And
Yeah,
you could either use that for good or for bad.
yeah,
But
yeah,
either way it's going to happen, but I really believe in the power of visualization. So I loved that part of the book. Now,
yeah.
what are some things that you're enjoying in life right now?
I've enjoyed this journey of publishing my book last March, so it hasn't even been a year. It has led me, I don't know, 15 plus podcasts. So getting to meet folks like yourself.
Nice.
I listened to some of your episodes and I listened to Pat's, obviously. I listened today to, is it Kitty Swink?
Yes, she's great.
Yeah. And
Pat
that,
is
that
great
was,
too. Pat has been so sweet ever since I had him on. We've still stayed in touch, and he has been so kind and amazing.
yeah, yeah, that's awesome. And Kitty's was on, her or touched on her pancreatic cancer. So
Yeah.
that kind of resonated with me. But yeah, I mean, the journey of publishing the book has opened a lot of doors as far as people I've met, whether it's authors, podcasters, and so that's been awesome. I mentioned my grandson is four
Yeah.
months. We just got back from Atlanta, where my daughter lives up there, so we got to spend the weekend with him. I love every minute of that. My son, we had an eventful 2025. My daughter got married the beginning of the year, had a child towards the end of the year. My son, I published a book. My son got engaged, so he's getting married Memorial Day weekend. And my wife and I renewed our wedding vows after 30 years. So it was a pretty eventful year.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
You kicked cancer's ass. And
Yeah.
you showed them. I mean, what a full, beautiful life you've gotten to live. Like,
Yeah.
what a gift, truly.
Yeah. So I feel blessed. But yeah, the book and family, I'd say those are the two things I'm enjoying in
It
life right
makes me emotional. Like, after reading that book and hearing you talk about all of this, like, it's really, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
Yes.
it definitely puts it in perspective. I mean, there's a lot of days where I'm like, uh, and I didn't mention this to you, but in the book I say this, the oncologist told me prior to 1970, and again, this was 86,
Hmm.
basically 16 years prior, there was no cure. And so I think about that a lot too. I think about him telling me that and the fact
Hmm.
that every day that I've had on this earth is an additional gift. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's been awesome.
Where can people get your book?
Primarily Amazon, but yeah, if you look up, it's called Grapefruit, all one word, not grape, but GREATFRUIT. How Cancer Led to Living a More Fruitful Life. And then my name is Steve Garraty, Garraty, and Amazon's got it, Barnes and Nobles, pretty much anywhere you can buy a book online, you can find the book there. And my website is stevegarraty.com.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your patience in scheduling this
Yeah.
and for your time and for sharing your story. And this was a very fruitful conversation.
Thanks for having me, Brittany. All my pleasure. Thank you.
Of course. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye bye.